we'll start our warm-up routine in tabletop position, and we'll start working through the spine. So as we work through the spine, we're going to press with our hands, squeeze our butt, create this big arch in our back, and then working the other way, pressing that chin and tailbone all the way up to the ceiling. Nice and slow as you work through these positions. Feel for a big squeeze as you press through your hands and squeeze your butt. And squeeze as you press your chin and tailbone up to the ceiling. Slower is better as you work through the spine. You can now drop down into a hug and reach. We're going to thread the needle, send one arm through, feel for a twist in our trunk as our shoulder hits the floor. Then we'll take that same arm, nice and high to the ceiling. Let's go for 3 reps on one side. And then 3 reps on the opposite side. As you reach your arm overhead, do your best to feel for a good squeeze, and a good way to tell that you've gone far enough is if you feel your shoulder blades come together at the back. From there, we'll jump into the wrists. So we'll go palms down, fingers forward, press your hands into the ground, and lean in for your stretch. Spinning the hands, so palms down, fingers towards us, we'll press in and lean back. Let's finish up by going palms up, arms nice and straight, be gentle on your wrists first getting into this position. We can now sink our butt back into our heels for a child's pose, getting our arms out in front. We'll start off by walking the hands across the body from one side to the other, feeling for a good stretch down through your line. There, we'll meet in the center of our child's pose. Keep your chest nice and close to the ground. We'll squeeze through the back of our shoulder to raise our arm up off the ground. And we'll go for 4 reps per side. Feeling for that nice big squeeze, trying to keep the chest nice and close. Even if your arm is barely moving, as long as your chest stays close to the ground, that's the name of the game. We'll step one leg in front into an ankle stretch. So we'll let our weight get heavy over top of your knee. Try to keep your ankle or your heel close to the ground, looking for a stretch through the back of our calf. Stretching that leg a little further out in front, we'll bounce back and forth between what's called a hip oscillation. So dropping the elbow down to the ground to allow the hips to open up. Notice how my knee is tracking out over my toes. We'll spend a few seconds in that position before we straighten the leg into a hamstring stretch. A few seconds in each position, we'll bounce back and forth. A little bit of rotation, dropping the elbow will help open things up. From there, we can drop into pigeon on that same leg. We find a comfortable angle with our knee. We want to make sure we're pain-free. Relax through the hips so they sink down into the floor. We can let the chest drop to intensify that stretch. Any movement through the torso here will provide you some benefit. So sweeping your torso across your front leg will help open things up. From here, we shall press up into down dog. So pressing your head up through your shoulders, You can push your heels down one at a time into the ground to get a good stretch through your ankle. We'll step the opposite leg through into low dragon on side 2, letting my weight get nice and heavy over top of my knee, feeling for a stretch through the back of the ankle. Let's step that leg a little further in front. Once again, bouncing back and forth between that hip oscillation, dropping the elbow, a bit of rotation, and straightening the leg, letting the chest drop, feeling for a stretch through our hamstrings on the back side. Dropping into pigeon on that same leg, we'll lay our knee down, try to relax through our hips, let them sink down and into the floor. Once again, letting the chest drop will ramp things up. A little bit of movement through that torso will also help open things. One more time, let's press ourselves up into down dog, pushing your head through your shoulders, pedaling out your heels. From here, we'll make our way into a standing position, and we'll go into some bootstrappers. We'll start with a hamstring stretch, leaning over, feeling for a stretch through the back of your legs. Then we can drop down into a deep squat. Feel free to use your elbows, drive your knees apart. We can rotate, move over each side of our foot. And we'll bounce back and forth between those two positions. If you're having a hard time feeling a stretch through your hamstrings, pin your shoulder blades together at the back, and you'll definitely feel a stretch on the back side. In the last squat, we're going to drive our elbow into our knee, rotate our arm up overhead, and we'll go for 3 reps a side. Feeling for a nice twist. Try and get that arm as overhead as you can to open up your mid-back. We'll go 3 on one side, 3 on the alternate side. Feel free to switch sides with each of those reps. From there, we can grab ourselves broomstick. If you have a PVC pipe at your house, you can also work with that. We'll take care of the upper half of the body to finish things up. So let's start with some shoulder rolls. Arms nice and straight, keeping your core tight. If you're finding you're having a hard time passing your arms overhead, make your grip a little bit wider until you can easily pass the pipe around. From there, this is an odd stretch. We'll get into internal rotation, or external rotation, I apologize. We're going to let the PVC pipe fall to the outside of our arm, reaching in front of your body. We'll grab the PVC pipe, pull it across our body. We should be feeling a stretch through the front side of our shoulder. Whenever we're warming up, always a good idea to focus on your breathing. Big, long, deep breaths in through your nose, into your belly. Let's set that one up again. We hold hold the PVC pipe like a hammer, let it fall outside of our arm, reach in front of our body, pull the pipe across our arm. If you need more of a stretch, you can slightly bring your elbow. From there, you guys, we're going to get into around the world. So we'll get our arms into that wide grip again. The goal is to keep one arm nice and tight to our side as we rotate the other arm around our body. When you're comfortable with the movement, you can speed it up. So it'll look something like this, trying to keep your core tight. One arm nice and straight to your side or close to your side at all times, while we keep those arms nice and straight. Let's switch directions. Finish off with a hinge stretch. This is going to stretch out our lat. We'll work with the PVC pipe in one hand. Keep the hips up nice and high. Let the chest drop to the ground. Keep your arm nice and straight. We also want to keep our core a little bit engaged. We will get active in this position. So when I count you in to get active, you're first going to squeeze through your shoulder, pushing the pipe down to the ground, which will force it out of the stretch. When I say switch, squeeze through the back of your shoulder, pushing yourself deeper in. 3, 2, 1. Push the pipe into the ground. Start at a low intensity, build up to a big squeeze. In 3, 2, 1. Switch. So squeeze through the back of your shoulder, keep your core tight. Starting at a low intensity, big squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Big breath out. Enjoy your stretch for one breath. Switch sides. Same approach on side number 2. Pipe goes into the ground, hips stay high, letting the chest drop in towards the floor. We'll hang out in a passive stretch, and I'll count you in to get active once again by pushing the pipe into the ground like you're throwing a spear. 3, 2, 1. Push the pipe in, feel your shoulder activate. Build up that intensity to a big squeeze in 3, 2, 1, switch. Squeeze through the back of your shoulder, pushing your chest deeper in towards the ground, building up to that big squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax.